Welcome back. My name's Casey. If you're new here, I'm an artist and content creator. I'm fully self-taught and I'm fairly new to the game as well. I just began my art career kind of on a whim in 2020. I focus mainly on linocut printmaking. I do some wood burning, I do some painting, I do a lot of digital illustration as well. I share my processes and my life and my work with you in the hopes that you will pursue your own creative endeavors, whether that's a hobby, just something that makes you happy and feel better, or pursuing your own art business or becoming an artist part-time, full-time, whatever you want to do. I'm basically just here to encourage you and help you along the way. I've had a really weird progression in my art career so far, and whatever I can do to help other people navigate the insanity is a win in my book. So if any of that is of interest to you or sounds nice to you, go ahead and subscribe. You can even hit the bell, and let's just get into it. How did I get here and how long have I been doing this? I'm very new to being an artist. It even still feels very strange to call myself an artist, and it also feels very strange to say that I have a business. I struggle with those terms sometimes, especially when introducing myself to new people and they ask, what do you do? But, owning it is getting easier and easier. I don't have a formal education in art. I also didn't go to college. I graduated high school. I was in a very particularly dark place in my life. I struggled with drug addiction in high school. Just really didn't have a very particularly bright outlook on life in general. After navigating through those darker periods, I decided to pursue cosmetology as basically just a placeholder. I was always interested in hair and makeup and skincare, but I was just really trying to figure things out. I had always been creative. I had always enjoyed art, but I just never really considered myself talented enough or dedicated enough or disciplined enough to really pursue art as a career. I then worked as a makeup artist through the majority of my early 20s. I worked at Sephora, I worked at Ulta, I worked as a freelance makeup artist. I experienced a lot of creative burnout and also just creative frustration. I was doing a lot of the same types of looks, very neutral, very no makeup. I really loved the idea of special effects makeup and bright and bold colors and editorial and avant-garde. I just didn't really get a lot of opportunities to do things like that. I also just did not consider that I could just be doing art as a hobby, as a way to kind of help with those feelings. I really just stayed frustrated. I think the vanity of the beauty industry kind of got to me. I started to feel like the beauty industry really only exists as a way to keep us from accepting ourselves and being okay with the way we look. Now, in hindsight, I know that it's way more complex than that. There are good things that come out of that. I just started to get kind of bitter about it. So I really wanted to take a new direction. At the time, I was using CBD products daily. I have rheumatoid arthritis, and I was diagnosed with juvenile rheumatoid arthritis when I was 15. Still dealing with chronic pain. I honestly don't really like to talk about my chronic pain that much. That's kind of something that I am working through. It is very much a part of my story. Anyway, I was dealing with chronic pain and using CBD as a way to kind of help with that. I had the opportunity to actually switch into the hemp and CBD industry, aka the cannabis industry as we know it now. At that time, it was not completely the cannabis industry. It was more of the hemp CBD, outskirts of the cannabis industry. So I switched over to the cannabis industry and I got started basically in a marketing / education role. Still a lot of backstory. This all plays into now, I promise. I moved into a different role at a different cannabis company back in my hometown. I was there in a marketing position for about a year and a half. At this point, I had multiple years of marketing experience. I was working on digital marketing all day, every day, and the pandemic hit and it got pretty crazy. I'm grateful to have been in a position where I could continue to work remotely. I know that if I would have been in my previous positions, I would have lost my job completely. So there was a lot of uncertainty and unknown that was going on at that time, and I'm really fortunate to have held a position for as long as I did during the pandemic. I decided to purchase my first home in August of 2020, and about 4 days after closing on my house, I got the call from my employer at the time that I was being laid off indefinitely. I started to really panic about how I was going to make this work. I had just bought this house. Now I had real deal responsibilities, and I was just terrified. It was very survival mode, fight or flight, all day, every day. I was really looking for a creative outlet, something kind of meditative. I had already been doing some digital illustration at the time, but I was really craving doing something with my hands. I was wandering around a craft store and I found the Speedball block printing kit. I actually made a whole video on my block printing supplies for beginners. I will link that and I'll put it down below. I talk about how that was basically like my jumping off point. So I found the block printing kit, and then I remembered that I learned about block printing in high school, and I remembered that it was a very soothing, calming process. That's basically how I got to the printmaking side. Also during this time, I did pick up freelance marketing jobs that I was able to do at the same time. Thank goodness. So I was able to keep my house and keep my finances afloat. Basically, I was experiencing a ton of relief, no pun intended, from relief printmaking, from block printing, from carving. I thought it was so satisfying to do. It's just something that I really started to love, and I saw that there was just a lot of potential to try a lot of different things and learn something completely new to me. The other thing that really helped me was I didn't see it a lot. Now I know there's a massive printmaking community on social media, but I really hadn't explored that at all. So once I did start to explore that and I started to see that there were all these other people who were doing it, that was more encouraging than intimidating. I think if maybe I would have seen that community beforehand, I would have felt like, oh, I'll never be able to do this. And in hindsight, I'm happy that, I was introduced to it as I worked my way in. Just brand new, super naive, and just trying to figure it out. And really just trying to make myself feel better. I figured that the videos could really help other people feel better too. I found ways to kind of edit things together that could also kind of portray that soothing effect. And I started posting on TikTok right away. At that point in 2020, I think a lot of us were using TikTok to just kind of pass the time. We had some time on our hands for sure. I was just chronically on TikTok, so I started posting on TikTok. It wasn't until I just got brutally honest and told my actual story of buying a house, losing my job, learning printmaking, and then posting about it. When I posted a video about that, it blew up. I had an Etsy at the time. I think I got like 25 orders overnight. And at that point, I converted this room into my makeshift studio. This was my spare bedroom in this house, but now it's my office and studio. I was so blown away. Truly, like, could not believe that there were humans in the world who wanted to purchase my stuff and like hang it on their wall or just be supportive. I really didn't think much about my story because I had been living it. It turns out that it was something that people could relate to. That's how it kicked off, and it's been a wild ride ever since. I'm 3 years into it now, and it really wasn't until a couple months ago that I even really started using the word business, and I didn't really start calling myself an artist until about a year into making art. There's been a lot of ups and downs for sure, some super dark times. I will not lie about that. It's a blessing and a curse when your fate and your finances and your overall success are completely within your own hands, but also the creative aspect has been life-saving. For sure. I don't know how much longer I could have survived in environments where I was just pushing to become something or someone that I didn't actually really want to be. The way I defined success then was so different than the way I define it now. That definition still changes all the time. I've been doing this officially for 3 years, still so new, still so inexperienced, still figuring everything out, and still really just showing up and showing you what I'm going through and what this is all like. I didn't go full-time artist until January of 2023. I kicked off 2023 as a full-time artist, and in hindsight, I think that I jumped the gun there. I had a lot of eggs in only a few baskets, and this past year has been the hardest one, I think, by far. But I know for sure that everything that I'm learning is also going to be helpful for other people. My dream is just to be able to be straightforward, honest, and open about everything, so that one day, when I do figure out some concrete answers and solutions and strategies for being a working artist, or even just pursuing creativity, I would really love to help other people do that too. It has changed my life. in ways that I would have never imagined before. It really did take that feeling of I have nothing to lose because I've lost everything, or I'm going to lose everything, to really get me here and to really imagine what is possible. That's how I'm even talking to you now. It's very moving to me. I get emotional about it a lot. Yeah, I think that everything has played out the way that it's supposed to, and I do trust in that. It's been really unbelievable and joyful and just overwhelmingly cool to even do this at all. If tomorrow everything changes and all of this has to go away, I would still be incredibly grateful for the journey that it has been. It's been so wild and so eye-opening and such a good indicator of what's possible, not just for me, but for literally everybody. I'm just really happy and really grateful for the chance to connect with you and share my stuff and show who I am, and it's been the best. And I'm still just getting started, so. Well, there you go. Long answers to me and what I'm doing here and why I'm here and how and, all that. Hopefully you can take something helpful out of that. I'm a textbook oversharer, and now you know that. If you have any other questions for me, go ahead and pop them in the comments, and I will add them to the list to answer in the next one. I'd love to know how you got here, how you found me, and where you are in your creative, artistic journey. Even if you don't think that you're on a creative journey, I bet you are. And just love to know about that too. That's the good stuff, so you can leave that in the comments too. That's all I got for this one, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.